Welcome back to Mr. Slover's Math. Today we're going to talk about square roots again and solving with them. So these steps for success should be similar because it's the same steps for success that we had yesterday. We're going to get the x or the quadratic term by itself. We're going to use addition or subtraction to move the constant. And remember, the constant is the number without a variable. So in this case, the constant is the 14. We're going to use division to separate the coefficient and the x squared. So once I move the constant, then I'm going to use division. So I wrote this in order on purpose. Once again, you're doing addition, subtraction first. If you need to, then you're doing the division. You got to follow in that order. Step 2, after you have gotten the x squared term by itself, you square root both sides, and then make sure one is a positive and one is a negative solution. This is just working through very similar to the same problems that we did yesterday. Directions are the same for all of them. Solve each by taking the square root and round to the nearest tenth if needed. So square root of x squared, square root of 25. When you square root a square, mathematically those cancel out. They reduce. And then square root of 25 is 5. And don't forget the other one, which is negative 5. Same thing on letter B, square root both sides. X is 15, negative 15. And then same thing with C. So example 2, now I have a coefficient in front of my quadratic term, so I have to get rid of it. So I'm going to do the inverse operation. So right now it says 4 times x squared. That means I'm going to divide to get rid of that 4. It also says that up here. Use division to separate the coefficient and the x squared. So I'm going to use division. I divide by 4, and then I take the square root. Now notice on letter B and letter C, I don't get integers. I get decimals, and that is okay. We talked about it yesterday. Depending on your calculator, you'll get a simplified radical for root 2, or you'll have a calculator that spits it out as a decimal, and you round to the nearest tenth. I will accept both answers. You do not need both answers. I will accept either answer. Same thing on letter C. You're going to divide by negative 5, and you end up getting a decimal as an answer, and that's okay. Last example, now it's just all of the steps in there. So first I got to move the constant. So in this case, it says a negative 17. So I'm going to add 17 to both sides. Then I have to undo that multiplication by dividing. So I divide by 3. And then I take the square root. Now when you take the square root of 7, it stays the square root of 7 if your calculator says that. Okay, it wasn't a typo. Root 7 simplified is root 7. Or you can turn it into a decimal, 2.6 or negative 2.6. Doesn't matter which. Okay, so today we were focusing on solving by taking the square root. First, you got to get rid of the constant if there is one by adding or subtracting. Then you have to get rid of the coefficient if there is one by dividing, and then take the square root and making sure one is positive and one is negative. So thanks for stopping.